はい。
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 4 of Yuzuru Hanyu is My Emergency Contact, the FanyuFanme podcast. And this is the special episode dedicated entirely, mostly, to Echoes of Life. And this is also the final episode of Season 3. I started this season with Repray, so it seemed only fitting to end it with Echoes of Life. Wow, what a year it has been, Yuzu. We'll start this episode with Created by Yuzu, my Echoes of Life blog post. Then I'll do my best to make you feel like you were in Chiba with me by sharing some of the tiny details that we don't always talk about surrounding Yuzu's eye stories, because we're so overwhelmed by, well, Yuzu. And then we'll wrap it all up with a HAYAKU Fanyu dedicated to RNJ 1.0. Just kidding. Echoes! Dang. Now I want an RNJ 1.0 HAYAKU Fanyu. For day 1 of Echoes in Chiba, I had the exact view as the opening shot of the Beyond Live streams, to the point that I was surprised there wasn't a camera in my seat. Maybe that's why I couldn't win tickets to the Sunday performance to save my life. Thanks for giving up your seat for me on Friday, Camera-san. And thank you, Yuzu, for what you created for us.
せーの、はい。
Created by Yuzu. In every arena of every Yuzuru Hanyu ice story, there is a universal language, the tiny gasp of joy. Whether you're Japanese, Chinese, American, Italian, Canadian, Australian, Indian, French, it doesn't matter. The moment the lights start to dim, everyone speaks the same language, the language of Yuzu. Or, more specifically, the language of, I am going to see Yuzu. And that internationally translates into a tiny gasp of joy. But Yuzu is not going to enter your world. You are going to enter his, the world he has created for you. There is an atmosphere of silence. The silence isn't because no one is excited. It is because every single person is breathing in the most glorious moment they will ever experience. Seeing Yuzu! And the level of respect is directly proportional to the level of adoration. That's why you can hear a pin drop, or a blade skate. You won't hear screams at inappropriate times. You won't strain to hear over noise from the person beside you. In fact, you won't remember that anyone else was there at all. It is about you and Yuzu. But when the pneumatic tube arrived at the start of Echoes, it didn't deliver Yuzu. It delivered something new. Someone new. Created by Yuzu. So let's talk about that someone. From the very first appearance of those silver-lined eyes in Saitama, we fell head over heels in love with Casa Nova. Yeah, I said it. Every flying page, every fingerless glove reach, every deteriorating stone step climbed, we became more attached. Because suddenly we not only had a world created by Yuzu, but an inhabitant of that world, also created by Yuzu. And lucky us, he looked a heck of a lot like Yuzu. It took no time at all for the Fanyu comments to start. I love Nova! Nova-kun! I miss Nova! We bought his necklace, we analyzed his name, we bought his acrylic standee. Mine is standing next to my white noise-generating sound machine because, well, I can't be the only Fanyu who finds the humor in that. But when Echoes ended, I discovered there was someone I missed even more than Nova. Yuzu! But we'll get to that autoday. There are so many things I could talk about from Echoes. How I knew, on top of the other obvious reasons, I absolutely no doubt life's goal had to get to Echoes the moment I heard that first piano note of Aqua's journey. The Goliath Hydroblade, where Yuzu even masterfully controlled his wisp of bangs. The truth that now when I read the word
awake,
I always hear it said in Yuzu's voice. How I found myself whispering to my TV, "That's wicked bad," when the lasers first screen printed Yuzu into thin air at the beginning of Mos Deaths. All the times I said, "That face!" particularly in between Eclipse Blue and Gate of Steiner. You know the face I mean. And how Danny Boy heals my soul. Yes, I remember I once said I hate that song, but now, heals my soul. As long as Yuzu is skating to it. But trying to cover 2.5 hours of Yuzu in one blog post is like trying to taste every item in a Japanese bakery. And if you've ever been to a Japanese bakery, you understand what I mean. And I'm not even counting all the butter. It's simply too hard to talk about it all. Or eat that much butter. But there is one thing I can endlessly talk about with unabashed adoration. Yuzu's hands. The handography in Utai was everything we need in love. Distinct movement, unique expression, and particular down to the fingernail. It reminded me of Gate of Living. Your brain is saying, there are so many more things I should be watching here. But your heart is screaming, the hands, the hands, the hands! So, Yuzu, I would like to take a moment to appreciate your fingers. We know you scrutinize them. I just want to say that every single solitary single finger decision you made was the right one. And yes, we noticed them all. In fact, I could still see the Utai fingers all the way from Stand S in La La Arena. That's some kind of Yuzu voodoo. And don't even get me started on the fingers during the hand reach through the door frame at the end of Gate of Steiner. It's just a hand, right? Not when it's Yuzu's! Honest Fanyu moment. I absolutely thought when Yuzu started drawing the red lines on the ice that we were getting the Gate of Living red triangle. And that, folks, is the textbook definition of wishful thinking. But connecting the dots, Yuzu received more cheers than most figure skaters will ever receive in their entire careers. Personally, I'm looking forward to his next ice story when he does a crossword puzzle on the ice. We barely made it to Saitama's intermission before Fanyus started racking their brains over the meaning of the lines and the flag and every other tangible object in Echoes. Spoiler alert, I will not be telling you what I think VGH means, or what the lines on the flag or the toy soldiers represent. My general opinion is that everyone has their own theory, and my general opinion is that all of our theories are wrong. Though I'm certain the blue butterfly symbolizes nah. This is one of the reasons why Yuzu's creations are brilliant and timeless. They are crafted so that the number of different things people take away are as limitless as the layers of Yuzu's costumes. And the layers of Yuzu. I know I've made a similar point before. I'm looking at you, pretty face Yuzu. But it was worth making it again. Speaking of the layers of Yuzu, it's clear that Nova doesn't shop at the same clothing stores as Yuzu. And now it's time for the part I kept telling myself not to write about, but here it is. I want Yuzu to take his clothes off. Now there's a sentence you never expected to hear from Yuzu layer-loving FanyuFanme. Not all of them, mind you. Earth Yuz. But I have to say, I would have been happier during Echoes if Yuzu had been wearing approximately 63% less clothing. Don't get me wrong. Really, really, please, I'm begging you, don't get me wrong. Yuzu wears the costumes beautifully, and the things he does with their movement is truly inspired and obviously thought out over countless arm flips of blue fabric. But so much of Yuzu's artistry is in his lines and his dedication to nuancing every reach, every posture, every gesture. Yuzu walks into a clothing store, that sounds like the beginning of a joke, and says, I would like the fitted black shirt to go with the fitted black pants, to go with the fitted black toe socks, and maybe an extra pair of slightly fitted black pants to go over it. Onegai shimasu. Nova walks into a clothing store and says, take everything off the rack and put it all on me right now, arigato. This isn't about wanting to see Yuzu's body. Don't get me wrong, for other reasons this time. In my personal aesthetic opinion, Yuzu has the perfect body, even with those short arms and legs. But this is different. If he's going to look at the angle of his knee 111 times in the shoe rental window at Ice Rink Sendai in the middle of the night, I want to see which angle he decided was best for telling his story. His body is emoting the heck out of itself, but we can't see it. I mean, there is some serious awesome bestiness happening under all that utai fabric. Serious. By the time we got to the piano collection, I exclaimed to my TV, sweet, merciful Chopin costume, he has legs again! It's a good thing I wasn't there in person on the first night, or that could have been embarrassing. Of course, this is coming from someone who would be perfectly happy if Yuzu spent the rest of his life skating in the exacting white stripe UA. But ultimately, you could throw a sheet over Yuzu and say, that's Yuzu under there, and I'd be blissfully happy to be in the same room. And let's be honest, sometimes that is pretty close to what we got. But still, the fingers! I'm not the only Fanyu who was a little taken aback at the voluminosity, yeah, I made that word up, of some of the costumes. I have the DMs from some of you, don't pretend you didn't send them. I will also admit that the costumes grew on me the more I watched Beyond live, the initial stream. Because now when I see them, they instantly remind me what these new programs make me feel, which is a lot. But we all have our Yuzu preferences in programs, nicknames, hairstyles, and costumes, and I'm still the most in love with UA Yuzu, and I probably always will be. And Gate of Living Yuzu, and Seimei Yuzu, and RNJ 1.0 Yuzu, and Haku Yuzu. Okay, I'm going down an orange abyss with dry ice flowing out of it now. Which leads me to my newest obsession, Eclipse Blue. Why is Eclipse Blue so good? It is because Yuzu is skating to the best possible thing we could ever hope for him to skate to. Yuzu! Eclipse Blue is one of my favorite things Yuzu has ever done. Ever. Yes, ever. In a semi-recent interview, it's getting hard to use the word recent relative to Yuzu unless it was something in the last 4 seconds. Yuzu was asked his favorite 3 programs, and we all got to delight in watching his brain explode. And Nomura Mansai wasn't even in the room this time. If I were asked that same question, Eclipse Blue would be up there. Even if he was wearing an entire Nishikawa bedding set. I would pay $1,000 right now to see Yuzu skate Eclipse Blue in his UA. And folks, I don't have that kind of money, but I would find it. I didn't think it was possible for me to love the Japanese language more, but guess what? I do ima! Especially when spoken by Yuzu. This program is a masterclass in musicality. He fills every sound, many of which you wouldn't even notice if he wasn't accentuating them. The way his head looks up, the way the arm snaps into the air, the way he sharply looks to the side as if someone just bumped him on the subway, or during Let Me Entertain You hand choreography. We have talked for years about how Yuzu embodies music, but now he's even embodying spoken word. The power of sound indeed, Nova. Yuzu. Are we confused yet? And as the show was ending and Nova was walking into the orange abyss, which I have promised myself to not publicly compare to the end screen from Looney Tunes, sorry, Yuzu. All I could think was, I don't want it to end. But also, I hope that fog doesn't bother Yuzu's asthma. What a very Fanyu thought to have, right? The only good thing about Nova walking away from us was that it meant very soon Yuzu would be walking toward us. As much as I loved spending the past 2 hours with Nova, there's no one I would rather see than Yuzu. I'm going to repeat that. There is no one I would rather see than Yuzu. So let's talk about Yuzu. When Yuzu shook hands with Nova and left him backstage so Yuzu could come play with us, he gave us a rare bonus. A dance class. Watching Yuzu explain the choreography for Let Me Entertain You grew funnier and funnier over the course of the tour.
ちょっと待って、つぼった。
By the 30th time Yuzu said,
右に1回。
I figured he started thinking he should have released this training as an Echoes prerequisite YouTube video and been done with it. Now that the tour is finished, I like to imagine him teaching that choreography to people at the Konbini. I'd like to buy these Choco Pies and this Dr. Pepper, but first put your hands close to your face and don't touch the employee standing next to you. When people come to Wine Studios to interview Yuzu, Staff-san greets them with, You have 30 minutes with Yuzu, but the first 5 he will be teaching you choreography. Yuzu, did you just want more friends on the playground with you? And next time will we get to play dodgeball with you? I love that Yuzu now feels comfortable enough to just tell us what he wants. At the premiere of Echoes in Saitama, he didn't even bother with letting the Fanyus attempt to surprise him by singing Happy Birthday. I could not have loved this more. He basically said, I want you to sing to me, and I'm going to control it. Hi, Yuzu. Hold up the banners. I want to see them. Hi, Yuzu. Wave the flags. Hi, Yuzu. He even went so far as to tell us,
帰りたいな。
I want to go home. Go, man, Yuzu. We want you to be able to go home too, but maybe do that on a night when we aren't here, nay? That is why we do everything we can to help carry you to the very last arigatou gozaimashita. And that includes absolutely losing our minds when you start Seimei. Every time I see Yuzu skate any part of Seimei, no matter if it is in a black tour t-shirt or a white tour t-shirt, I see him in his Seimei costume at the Pyeongchang Olympics. And I am sitting on my couch, very, very far away from Japan, without the smallest inkling that one day I will be in Japan watching in person something created by Yuzu. I hope we never become indifferent about seeing him do a single gesture from this program. It will always be special, Yuzu. Every time. Even when I'm back on my couch, very, very far away from Japan. But what did I really take away from Echoes? Other than merch. P.S. A folder for the clear file folders? Genius! I think what I took away most was just how much I love Yuzu. And that isn't as obvious of a statement as one might be led to believe from a hardcore, seriously, Fanyu. The best way I can explain this is through the as factor. In an early moment of Echoes, a very important line appears on the video screen. Yuzuru Hanyu as VGH257 Nova. At first I didn't think much of it, but the more I watch Echoes, the more it makes me realize how much I love Yuzuru Hanyu as Yuzuru Hanyu. Or Hanyu Yuzuru, or Yuzu. Does this mean I don't like Nova? No. Does this mean I hated Echoes? Heck to the no! Does this mean I'm no longer a hardcore Fanyu? Now you're just being ridiculous. But it does mean that I don't think Yuzuru Hanyu ever needs the word as to follow his name. Nova was created by Yuzu. Nova was portrayed by Yuzu. But Nova is not superior to Yuzu. I love everything Yuzu creates. With echoes, that has extended to loving every one Yuzu creates. But don't worry, Yuzu. We are loving Nova with you, not instead of you. So thank you for creating Nova, but thank you even more for continuing to be Yuzu.
完成です。
We see the ice stories. We experience Yuzu's brilliance as a skater, a writer, a producer, a video gamer. But if you haven't been to one in person, there are small details you may never know exist. The strategic placing of Yuzu-related items at the businesses around the arena. Ultraman figures in the front of the toy stores. Dr. Pepper in all the vending machines. Even Ghana chocolate french fries in the food court. I know he's not still with Ghana, but he is in my mind. P.S. Oishi! I'm talking about the french fries. Or am I? That's right, business owners, the Fanyus are in town. Speaking of food courts, for an international Fanyu, there is no more surreal or wonderful feeling than to be sitting in a food court eating your gyoza and Ghana chocolate fries, surrounded by countless televisions showing Yuzu, encouraging you to come see Echoes. Yuzu, if I've made it all the way from my couch in America to a food court table in Chiba, chances are good you've already convinced me. And I'm not the only one who was convinced, because the arena has to change many of the men's restrooms into women's restrooms. Yes, Yuzu, you had a lot more Josei raise their hands than Dansei. But my favorite is the Yuzu merch experience. When your merch number is reached, mine was 2,512, and it's time for you to enter the incredible world of Yuzu goods, Kudasai. You are greeted at the door by a display of all the merch treasures your heart could desire. And trust me, even if you looked at the goods catalog online 111 times and attempted to make a reasonable list of what you plan to purchase in order to have money left for the rest of your trip, once you see them all in their Yuzu glory right in front of your eyes, that list grows. Who needs food for the next 8 days, right? And then, when you reach the front of the line, you are given a dedicated individual to serve as your personal Yuzu goods godmother. No pushing and shoving as you try to get someone to take pity on you and let you buy something. And if you don't speak Japanese, daijoubu desu! You can simply point to the photo taped to the top of the table in front of you. But that's not the best part. When your Yuzu goods godmother, or godfather, goes and retrieves each item you point to, they quickly return and show you the front, the back, the side, every time confirming, is okay, is okay, is okay, or daijoubu desu ka, daijoubu desu ka, daijoubu desu ka. They want your item to be perfect for you. But even this is not the best of the best part. Once you have acquired your Yuzu treasures and you're carrying your pile of irreplaceable Yuzu gold toward the exit, you may find yourself thinking, gee, I wish I could get all these priceless merch gems safely packed away before I re-enter the Fanyu crowd. And what do you immediately come upon at the exit? Rows of carefully pack up your merch treasures tables, just sitting there waiting to make sure you don't end up with a giant fold down the center of Yuzu's face on your Echoes program from frantically stuffing it into your bag in a crowd of other Yuzu lovers also frantically stuffing their Echoes programs into their bags. And the whole time I'm standing at this perfectly placed, convenient table, lovingly packing my Yuzu goods, all I can think is, thank you, Yuzu. Because it's all of these things, in addition to the ice story itself, that I am convinced in some way are also created by Yuzu. I believe his perfect hands are in every detail surrounding his beloved ice stories. I mean, sure, he may not be sending out the ticket lottery emails, but then again, are we sure he's not? And now it's time for HAYAKU Fanyu, the part of the podcast where I allow myself 30 seconds each to speed comment on some of the latest Yuzu events. But this time, they are all going to be Echoes-related events.
早い。
TV Asahi Ticket Agent Hanyu. Earlier in this podcast, I expressed my suspicion that Yuzu may be sending out the ticket lottery results himself. He does everything else right. But the more I think about this, I realize it is highly unlikely. If the ticket notifications were coming from Yuzu, the first email would say, "You won tickets for February 7th," shortly followed by a second email saying, "I made a mistake. Your tickets are for February 9th," followed immediately by a third email saying, "Go man, I meant you didn't win tickets. Why do I always make so many mistakes?" And then a final email of a single hysterical crying emoji. Yuzu Sensei. One of my favorite moments in the Echoes of Life interview with Shuzo-san is when Yuzu explains the opening pose for Utai and we end up with two grown men, both in full suits, on the floor in Seiza. This perfectly demonstrates Shuzo's respect for Yuzu. I think Yuzu could cover himself in Zunda and stand on one leg, and Shuzo would follow saying, "Oh, we need to do this now. Teach me too." For the record, Yuzu, this is how we all feel about you. We'd happily sit on the floor with you, covered in Zunda, and we wouldn't even care if our skate blades were poking us in the butt. Slalom Yuzu. Poem for Everyone's Souls at the end of Echoes is innovative, heart-filling, and freaking beautiful. But I can't help but also feel like I am watching Yuzu ski a slalom course as he's effortlessly gliding through each of the doors. All I have to say is, I ski slalom Yuzu. Get it? Yuzu's Sendai. In my opinion, Yuzu is always the owner of Sendai, but particularly during Notice Delata. If he says, "I need 100 shuttle buses in this parking lot at this time to transport my fans back to Sendai Station," it will happen. It's as if he is literally saying to Sendai, "Don't lose any of my marbles." I'm surprised there weren't complimentary Dr. Peppers and Monikas as the Fanyus boarded. Then again, I'm going to need confirmation that there weren't. Yuzu's personal ticket lottery. During the encore of the Saitama broadcast, Yuzu said he wished he could see the show from our seats. Well, Yuzu, good luck winning a ticket. There are arena, stand, annotated, obstructed, closed, and outside. But if you set my folding chair next to the Yuzu Echo sign, I'll still pay you 30,000 yen. Every employee's every wish. I imagine that at News Every, the employees all have the same wish for their Christmas bonus. No cash, no turkey, not even a bucket of KFC. I can make that joke since I'm from Kentucky. Nope, they are all hoping for one thing, to be the mascot when Yuzu is scheduled to be at the studio. Now that is something to proudly announce to your family when you arrive home from work. I have been chosen to be the chicken!
早い。
Okay, so I lied. A few of those weren't about Echoes of Life, but I couldn't wait all the way until Season 4 to comment on those things. Did I just commit to a Season 4? It has been 5 years since Yuzuru Hanyu is My Emergency Contact was created by FanyuFanme. See what I did there? And if you had told me 5 years ago that I would be simultaneously folding laundry while talking down a Kincho Suru Yuzuru Hanyu, say that 3 times fast, in the middle of the night, I would have thought you were, let's go, crazy. If you're a member of Yuzu's YouTube, you know the night I'm referring to. But this is the Fanyu life now, and it's glorious. 5 years, 2,087 tweets, 89 blog posts, 41 podcast episodes, and 3 trips to Japan later. I couldn't be happier that in 2020, I wrote some words, sketched a Yuzu, and said, let's see what people think about this. While we wait to see if I really will return for a Season 4, you can still follow FanyuFanme on Twitter. If Yuzu isn't calling it X, then neither am I. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and FanyuFanme.com. Because even though the blog and podcast are taking a break, I'm not going anywhere, Yuzu, even while I'm doing the laundry. Until next season, you totally know I'm coming back. Say it with me. Yuzuru Hanyu. The FanyuFanme podcast is a Back to the Forest production.
Back to the forest? Just kidding.